Hi there! In today's video, I'm working on my GPT-4 Vision Browsing project again. In the previous video, I created this Python script that is actually Python and JavaScript because I'm using Puppeteer for this. So I created this script that if I run this, it will open this chatbot where I can ask questions. So for example, I can say, what is the current stock price of Tesla? And when I send this request, it is going to then crawl a website that it thinks that has the answer to this question, and it will take a screenshot of that website and send the screenshot to ChatGPT Vision and then answer the question based on that. And sometimes it doesn't find the answer the first time, but then it will try a different URL. And now we found the answer, which is the current stock price of Tesla is $233.70. Now, if we actually open this URL, then we can hopefully see that that is exactly the price of Tesla at the moment. Now, I can of course ask other questions as well. So I can say, what is the weather in Florida? And then it will crawl the weather.com website for the weather in Florida. And it will tell us a very long answer about the weather in Florida. And again, if we would actually open this URL that it crawled, then here we actually have the weather. But currently it can only crawl one URL and then give you the answer based on the screenshot of that page. But actually, I would like it to be able to click on the links on the page and then crawl further if it needs to. Now, I have created such a project before, which is this Puppeteer GPT. But this does not use ChatGPT Vision. And I had lots of problems with this because this only reads the HTML and then passes that to ChatGPT. Well, actually, it parses the HTML and it tries to get like the actual content from the website. But sometimes it is hard to detect what is actually visible on the site and what you can click and what is like a menu on the page and what is the actual content on the page. But when you actually look at the page, then you can clearly see what is the content. And of course, ChatGPT Vision can also see that. But now the tricky part is when ChatGPT Vision tells us to click a link, how do we know which link to click? How do we convert the response from GPT Vision into like the actual CSS selector of the link on the page? So let's try to figure out how we could do that. So one idea that I had is what if when we crawl the website with Puppeteer, what if we add to each link like red borders and the name of the element or the CSS selector of the element? Could ChatGPT then read from that the name of each element that it can click? So how could we do that? Let's take, for example, this GitHub repository page. So how could we highlight all of these buttons and links we can click? Well, let's take a look, for example, at pull requests. Let's say we wanted ChatGPT to crawl this page and then click on pull requests. Then what should we actually click? Well, there's an ID pull requests tab. So presumably, if we would click on that, we would go to that page. But how do we tell ChatGPT that the ID of this element is pull requests tab? Let's go to the console, and what if we do something like this? Document.querySelector, and what if we select all A elements? And actually, I have done this previously with my Puppeteer GPT project, so I'm selecting all A elements and buttons and inputs and text areas. So let's actually do that. And we're not going to focus, I don't know where that came from, and let's actually do all, and let's call this const elements. So now we should have all of the elements that we can click or where we can type in some text. So could we then do something like elements.forEach, and then we could do something here. So actually we will get the element here, and then we could say something like e.style.border equals 1 pixel solid red. Does this make all of the elements have a red border? Let's see. It in fact does exactly that. And these are basically all the buttons we can click. Now, for example, add file and code are not, I guess, not buttons. What are these? Okay, it's a summary with the role button. So could we actually do something like this? Could we say, let's call this elements2 because we already used const here, and I will use let. Can we do like this and role equals button? And then if we do the same thing for elements2, then do we now get this as well? But then code is a different thing again. Now, I'm not sure if we need to actually click the add file button or the code button. I mean, I guess if we want to download the code, then that would be a nice thing to be able to do. So what is this? This is just a summary. Okay, so this does not have a role button for some reason. So there are still going to be some outliers that we have to figure out how to be able to click. But let's try it just with these elements. Could we add the CSS selector somehow visible here? So if we go to the console again, and let's actually move this to VS Code, so maybe you can see it better. So let's see, we have our elements, and then we loop through all of them, and we set the border to red. And how do we get the unique identifier of this element? Now, I guess we can just do const id equals e.id. And if id, then we are going to set the selector to id. Or can we just do this? Do we need to have a specific id? Constant, let's just do that. Or even just do this. Let selector equal that. And if not selector, then we are going to get something else. I guess the class name. So let's do selector equals e.class name. Now, that is not really a unique selector. I'm not sure if there is some way in JavaScript to just get directly the unique selector, because, for example, in Chrome, you can actually do it. So if you are here in an element, you can right-click and you can say copy selector. And the selector for this is that. So this is like a very unique selector for this. But how could we then show this name somewhere? I guess we could say something like const element name is document.create element, and we are going to create a div, and we are going to say element name dot inner HTML equals selector, and element dot style dot background color is going to be red, and element name dot style dot color is going to be white. And let's do element name dot style dot padding is 5 pixels. And let's also do position is absolute, and top is going to be something pixels. And let's also add the left. And then we can do document query selector body dot append child element name. So now we should create an element that has the name of the element, and then we have to position it absolutely to the position of the original element. So how do we get that? Const position equals e dot. There's something like get bounding client rect. And then we can say that const top is going to be position dot top. And we can remove from that position dot height. Hopefully these are integers and doesn't include the pixel. And then we can say const left equals position left. And we should actually subtract from the position top, not the height of the element, but the height of this element. So the tag we are going to add. So I will just subtract like 20 pixels, because this should be just one line, so we can do that. So then I can say this is top, and this is going to be left. So let's see if this is going to work. So let's copy this, and let's actually refresh this page, and let's go to the console and paste this in. And look at this. We have all the names of all the elements here, although it looks kind of weird. So we at least need to make it a little bit smaller. So let's do that. Let's say element name, style, font size is going to be 7 pixels. And let's set the padding just to 2 pixels. And let's see if that is any better. So refresh. And let's inspect. And let's go to the console and do this. Okay, that's very small. So ChatGPT might not be able to read this. So let's make it like 11 pixels. And let's make this like maybe 15 is a good size. And let's try this one more time in the browser, and then let's move this into actually Puppeteer. Okay, that's pretty good. So it's a little bit too high, so let's set the top to -13, and let's actually move this into Puppeteer. So before we take the screenshot, we run this code on the page. So we are actually taking a screenshot twice here, and the reason is sometimes this page.goto fails, and then we throw an exception, and then we don't actually take the screenshot. So I have this one here that is set with a timeout, so that 2 seconds before the actual timeout of the goto, we are going to take a screenshot anyway. So when the script finishes, we are going to have a screenshot, even though this will fail. So I guess we could do something similar. So we might say set timeout, and let's make an async function here that is going to run our script. And let's set this to like timeout -3 seconds. And here what we have to do is we have to await page.evaluate, and whatever we pass in here is going to actually be run inside of the page. So let's put this in here. And then let's actually set for now this headless to false, so we actually open the browser. And let's set some sort of wait time here. So let's do await new promise, and we have the resolver and the rejector, and then we are going to set timeout to resolve, and we are going to do that in, let's say, 10 seconds. So then the browser will stay open. I mean, I guess we can just not call browser.close, then I guess it will stay open. Let's see actually if that will work. So let's remove that part. And let's now run just this screenshot.js, and let's pass in this URL, and let's see what happens. Okay, we open the URL, and then we should wait for a few seconds, and here it is. And actually we do close the browser anyway, so I guess we have to do this waiting here. So let's try one more time. All right, and here is our page, and we have all of these different selectors here, but this does not look very good. And we close the browser again. So I will just put 1,000,000 seconds here, or 1,000,000 milliseconds. Or wait a minute, I have some other error here. Okay, so we actually got the timeout of 8 seconds. So I'm going to increase our timeout, and let's try to run this again. And of course it won't work now because I set this to timeout -3000. I will just say 3000, so we will wait 3 seconds, and then we are gonna do the script. Okay, now we have everything here, but it looks horrible. So we can't really use the class name because that does not help us at all. So I think a better way would be that we could actually use Puppeteer to go through all of these elements, and we could save those elements so that we can reference them later. So we can give our own IDs to each of the elements, and then we can show that ID to ChatGPT. And then it can be just a number, for example. So then we can tell ChatGPT, give us the number of the link we should click. So let's do that. I think we get the elements this way. So we can say const elements equals page dot $, and then we can pass in this selector here. And then we can loop through all of these elements. So basically we can do the same thing as we did here. But now I think these elements are not going to be the same as the elements on the page. So this code is not actually run inside the browser. So actually we have to do something like page.evaluate, and I think we can like pass in here the E, and then we can do like a function, and then we can run code inside of the browser. So then if we move this in here, then this will be run inside the browser. And actually this E is now unused. So actually we have to pass it into this function as well. So after the function, we give it the E. So that will then be passed as this one, and then we can run it like that. I think that is how it works. So let's try if this still works. Okay, it does not work. So elements for each is not a function. So let's actually copy this code and paste it into ChatGPT and tell it to convert this into the proper Puppeteer code. And hopefully it can do it. Okay, so elements is that. Oh, we have to await. That was probably the error. And then we can do this for loop, but I think we can still do for each, but the problem is I didn't await it. So let's actually see if I just await this. Is it going to work then? We open it, and we should wait, and actually it works. So that is how you can do it. But now, since we actually have a reference to each of the elements, then we can actually not take the selector this way. We can actually say const selector equals, and we should like increment some number. How can we do that? Since this is an arrow function, can I just set the selector here and then increment? I don't think so, because I think this code is run in the browser, so I can't access this anymore. So how do we actually do it? I think we can pass in something else to this function. So after the E, can we pass resolver? No, we cannot. I thought we could pass in some other variable here, but maybe not. And I guess I should do here await as well when I evaluate. But let's ask ChatGPT. So here we do await page evaluate element, and then we get the ID. How can we pass in some extra stuff into this one? How can I pass an incrementing counter from the for loop inside of this? Okay, we initialize the counter here, and we increment the counter, and actually we can pass in that there. So I was correct, but for some reason the documentation was not that helpful. So if I say here, counter, there's like resolver, what is this? So I can say here, counter, and then I can set the selector to the counter, or I can just say that the inner HTML will be something like hash plus counter. And we can pass in the counter here, and then we can here say counter plus plus. And here we can say let counter equal 0. So now I also have to make this async so that we can actually use await here. But now we should get a number for each of the elements. So if we now run this, then every element should have a number. Great. But why is this all over the place? Maybe I ran it too quickly. So do I actually have to wait for a longer time? So let's put like 6 seconds here, and let's try it. Okay, now they are kind of in the right place. So here we have readme, activity stars, and these all have a number. But what are these? They are probably like hidden elements. Maybe in the pricing. No, wait a minute, what are those? Let's try again. So what are these? That is interesting. Now I guess I could do something like this. I could get the width and height of the element. So I can say like if position dot width is greater than 1 or 2 or 5, and position dot height is greater than 5, then we're going to do this. Otherwise we're going to skip it. So then we shouldn't do anything to hidden elements. And I guess we can also check somehow the hidden elements, but let's see if that will work a little bit better. And we still got these. What are these? So like clearly number 3 is the logo and number 6 is the product. And okay, there you have it. So it's probably because of those explore features and stuff. So they are hidden by default. So can we somehow check like the opacity or something? Let's ask ChatGPT. How could I reliably detect if an element is visible in JavaScript? So we got a very long function to check if an element is visible. So let's see if this will help. So let's just slap it in here. And let's say that if these are true and the element is visible, then we're going to do this. So let's see if that will work. Okay, it in fact will work. So now we have only the visible elements here. And that looks pretty nice. I should move it up a little bit, I think. So let's do that. I will actually set the padding to 0 pixels and 2 pixels. So I only want padding on the left and right because I guess there's padding automatically on the top and bottom because of the font or something. And I will move this up a couple pixels and let's run it again. All right, and those look like they're exactly in the right place. And we can actually do this as well. So in order for us to be able to reference these elements easily later on, we can actually set an attribute for them. So we can say element name dot set attribute, and we can set like a GPT ID, and we can set it to the counter. And then we can use Puppeteer to select the element with this GPT ID later. But let's now see if ChatGPT can actually read these numbers, because that is quite important. So I'm going to make my timeout 8 seconds again, and I am going to make this now timeout minus 3000 seconds or milliseconds. So that means before we take the first screenshot, we are going to mark these elements, and then we're going to take the screenshot, and then we're going to go to the page and wait for it to load, and then we're going to take another screenshot. Now we might want to run this function again at some point, like after we load it, before we take the next screenshot, in case something was not loaded yet. But let's actually see, maybe I should just comment this out. Let's see if we can now read this with ChatGPT. So let's take the screenshot first. So we're going to go here, and we are going to mark these fields. We're going to take a screenshot, and we are going to get an error from the timeout, but that's fine, it should still work. So if I do xdg open screenshot.jpg, then here we have the screenshot, and we have all these markings in here, which kind of are blurry. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe we need to change the scale factor or something. Or can we set like the quality of the JPEG? Let's actually Google this. Or let's ChatGPT it. Can I set the quality of page.screenshot? Yes. So I can literally say quality. And I can probably make a PNG from it. But let's see if I just say quality is 100. Is that going to look better? So let's put it to both of these, and let's run it again. So my screen has actually like 175% zoom, so that's why it looks good for me. But let's open this now, and is this any better? Not really. So wait a minute. This is now like 100%, but it's still blurry at 100%. That's weird. What if we do PNG? Type PNG. Is that gonna be better? And run it, again, this one. And PNG screenshots do not support quality. Fine. Let's remove quality. And this time, let's see Now we of course have to open PNG and let's see if that is any better. Why is it still blurry? It's blurry. It didn't help anything. So let's just use JPEG for now. And there was actually something here, device scale factor. Can I put 1.75? Is that gonna make it bigger? And let's open screenshot.jpg. And what does it look like? It might have made it bigger, but still it's very blurry. That is very disappointing. But let's now see if we ask ChatGPT to actually go to this URL. Can we just use my script directly? So if I say Python 3 vision crawl.py and I say go to this URL and tell me the number tag on the pull requests button. And let's see if it will actually crawl there. Yes, we are crawling there. And we take the screenshot. And let's see if it can actually read it. I think it was 79. Number 1. Okay, so that is not correct. Let's verify. So it is actually 79, but it's very small. So let's try to make it a little bit bigger. So let's say that top is going to be, let's put the 20% or 10 to 20 pixels, and font size, let's do 15 pixels. And let's actually say font weight is bold. And let's take a screenshot and see what that looks like. Okay, that's way too big. So I was supposed to put 15, not 25. And now it is pretty big. So let's open this JPEG. And now you can definitely see it, but it's still blurry. But it might be too big in some cases, like here, because it doesn't really fit there. But let's see. Let's ask again. Go to this URL and tell me the number on pull requests button. And we're going to open it and we're going to add the tags and hopefully we can read it. Number 1, it still didn't work. So perhaps my idea is completely doomed. What if we ask the other way? What if we say, go to this URL and tell me what is the button with the number 79? And I will then paste in this URL somehow. Where is it? And let's see if it works this way. Because this Vision API is sometimes pretty weird. Because like in the previous video, I sent it a screenshot of the Sam Altman Wikipedia page. And I asked, what is his age? And it didn't know. But then when I asked it, what is the text on this page? Then the text included the age. And again, the button with the number 79 corresponds to an issue or pull request in the GitHub repository that was tagged with this number. Okay, well, this might not be the correct thing because it might just hallucinate this because this looks like a pull request. So what are some of the other buttons there? Let's ask for 103. So let's run it again. And go to this URL and tell me what is the button with the number 103, was it? Yes, 103. And I have to do this again because VS Code is bad. Go to this URL and tell me what is the button with the number 103. Maybe I should just say 103 without the hash 103. And let's paste in the URL and let's see what happens. Okay, the button with the number 103 is a label indicating the number of forks. Okay, now maybe I should add like a system message to actually tell it what it's looking at. What if I actually use ChatGPT and I add here the screenshot and I say, this is a screenshot of a website. The different buttons on the page have been labeled with numbers. Please tell me which button is the number 103. And let's see if we can do it then, because now it knows what is actually going on here. And we actually have the screenshot here. Okay, the number 103 is labeling the fork button. Okay, that is not correct. Where is fork? It's up there. It's 68. Maybe my idea is completely doomed. Maybe there are too many buttons on this page. What if I say, let's create a new chat, and I put the same file, and I say, can you tell me what you see on this page? The image appears to be a screenshot of a GitHub repository page. The repository is named Puppeteer GPT. Okay, and then it just tells about the repository, and the page layout has GitHub's typical navigation and information bars, including sections for code, issues, pull request, actions, projects, security, insights, and more. Okay, so it said nothing about these tags on the buttons, so it can't see those, which is a bit annoying. So I'm going to have to try a different approach. But before that, I am going to take a small break. Alright, let's try to figure out a plan B. So since we can't really read these number tags from these buttons, let's just use the text inside of the buttons and hope that they are unique. So let's first try to see if we could actually make ChatGPT click one of these links, or at least determine what is the link that should be clicked. So for example, if we wanted to open this index.js file, then could we say something like, what link or button should you click in order to open the main file of this project? Because index.js is the main file. Then hopefully it would tell us then to click the button or the link that includes index.js. So let's see if we can do that. Now, that might be a difficult task, but I think it should be able to do that. So what are we going to do? Well, we still need this isElementVisible function here. We want to actually get all of the elements that we can click, but we are not going to add this element that shows the number. So let's remove this. But we actually might still want to set some sort of attribute. And actually this attribute should have been on the actual element. And let's remove this part as well, and that part. And we might actually still add a border to all of the places that can be clicked. And we can say in our system message that we have added this border to every place it can click. So it might actually help ChatGPT to know where it can click. Let's see now, if we do this again and we take the screenshot, then do we get the outlines still? Yes, we get the outlines. So that is fine. And if we now open the screenshot, then we have the outlines here. So let's now try to send some sort of prompt so that it would try to click on this index.js. So how should we do that? Let's just try to use the user message, since we can talk to ChatGPT with this chatbot. And let's again say, go to this URL and tell me the text inside of the link that will open the main file of the GitHub repository, or just main file of the project. So let's see if it can do that. So of course we are going to readme.md for some reason. So let's try this again. Go to this exact URL. Let's see if that makes sense to ChatGPT. Okay, and we are going again actually to index.js directly. How did it do that? Wait a minute. How on earth did it know that there's an index.js? Okay, let's try another repo. Let's pick GPT Autopilot. And do we have here a link? Yes, we have a link to the main file, which is gptautopilot.py. So let's try this repository instead. Go to this exact URL and then tell me what is the link that opens the main script of the project. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't, I will actually change my code. And again, we try to go to blob/main/GPT-autopilot.py. So I'll tell it, you didn't go to the exact URL, which is this. Hopefully now it goes there. Okay, and still we try to go to this URL. Why? What is so difficult about go to this exact URL? Okay, let's make a test script. So I'll copy my vision crawl and I'm going to make a new file, test.py. And let's paste this in here. And what should we do here? You are a web crawler. Your job is to give the user a URL to go to in order to find the answer to the question. Go to a direct URL that will likely have the answer to the user question. Respond in the following JSON format. All right. And interesting that it doesn't then return with the URL. Now, I guess what I could do is I could just remove this query and I will just say URL equals the URL I want. So now we're going to crawl that every time. And we're going to take the screenshot and then we're going to send that to ChatGPT. And then I will tell this version of ChatGPT. So actually I have two different models here. So I have GPT-4 Vision Preview and I have, well, up there I had this GPT-3.5 Turbo. So I'm actually handling two different message contexts. Now I might be able to use just the GPT-4 Vision Preview, but first of all, I'm not sure if this supports the JSON mode because I still want to use the JSON mode in this first request. And another thing that I'm not sure about is when we send images in the message history, how much do these cost, like in the history? If it's not the latest message, does it still load them? So right now, I have a different message history for GPT-4 Vision than GPT 3.5. So I always set this system message and then the latest message from the user with the image. And then in between, I add the messages from the main messages list, but excluding the system message. So only the user messages and the assistant messages. But let's now add here, you are a website crawler. Your job is to answer the user's question. Let's in fact start completely over. You are a website crawler. You will be given instructions on what to do by browsing. You are connected to a web browser and you will be given the screenshot of the website you are at. You can click links on the website by answering in the following format. So let's actually see, can we do here something like, let's make this a multi-line string. And what if we give it like a JSON? So click and then text in link. So you can click links on the website by answering in the following manner. Or you can click links on the website by referencing the text inside of the link/button by answering in the following format. Okay, and could we actually say, let's put this on its own paragraph, and could we say here, you can go to a specific URL by answering with the following JSON format. I guess we can also say here the following JSON format. And let's actually try if we can use the JSON mode with the GPT-4 Vision Preview. And let's add here, maybe we don't need a new line there, just URL, and then URL goes here. And let's actually move this up. And what else? Once you are on a URL and you have found the answer to the user's question, you can answer with a regular message. Now we might want to use function calling too, but let's see if we can just parse these somehow. And really what I want to know is, can it read the link that it should be clicking? So should this work now? So we are now going to ask, in fact, nothing. Actually, we ask the prompt here, and we added these messages, but we don't send that anywhere at this point. We just go to this URL, and we take the screenshot, and then we send this message. And here, actually, we will have the prompt. And actually, the prompt will be here too. So this kind of duplication. But let's see, can this actually do something? So if I run python3 test.py, and then I say, open the main script file of this Python project, and let's send that. And now we are crawling the right place, and let's see if it will actually tell us that we have to click on the GPT autopilot.py. Okay, we got a very long answer, and the answer is, I am unable to directly open files or interact with content as a person would. However, I can guide you on what steps to take if you would like to open the main script file. Okay, identify the main script file. Okay, that was a complete failure. I should probably add, you're a website crawler. You will be given instructions on what to do by browsing. You are connected to a web browser and you will be given the screenshot of the website you are at. The links on the website will be highlighted in red in the screenshot. You can go to a specific URL by answering with the following JSON format. You can click links on the website by referencing the text inside of the link/button by answering in the following JSON format. Okay, let's just try this. I will remove all of this other crap from here, and I will just do this. And we will add the messages here, which will be the system message, and then we will have a user message, and actually just that. And we might add here something like role, user, and content. Go to this GitHub repo and open the main script file. Now, maybe this is kind of ambiguous what I mean, but I don't want to say something like open the pull request tab, because it can just guess that it is called pull requests. But let's see. So we add this user message, and we actually have to add, of course, the URL here. And then let's imagine that ChatGPT responded with an assistant message. Role, assistant, and content would in this case be just a JSON. So this would be URL, and it would be exactly this. And then we would get the user message, which is this. Now, maybe the prompt here should be like, here's the screenshot of the website you are on right now. You can click on links with, and then we can add this format, click, and here will be the link text, or you can crawl to another URL if this one is incorrect. If you find the answer to the user's question, you can respond normally. Now, what is my question? My question is just this. Go to this repo and open the main script file. Should I ask something more? And tell me, so it should open this, and it should tell me what are the imports on that file. And then tell me what are the imports in that file. So now we should have just this. And I will remove this prompt from here because I have hard-coded it. And we are just going to use the screenshot that is in there already. And let's see. Actually, we want to just print the message text from there. And let's run this. Well, let's first check that we have the right screenshot. So here is the screenshot. Now this is very long because I set it to be like the full page screenshot. I'm not sure if that matters. It might make it so that ChatGPT will like make this smaller and then it can't see anything. So maybe we have to change it to not be full page. But let's see how it actually handles this. So let's run python 3 test.py. Okay, we clicked on GPT autopilot.py, but is it in fact underscore or not? I feel like I didn't use underscore, which I didn't, so it probably hallucinated this name because it knows the name of the repo. Okay, maybe that is a bit too difficult. What if we just say, go to the projects page, but it doesn't really make sense because it's for sure going to say projects because that is the link. Can we just do this? What if we say, go to this GitHub repo and tell me what is the name of the main script file? And I'll remove this rest of this and let's try to do that. All right, so now we actually got GPT-autopilot.py. But why did it here want to click that link? So I think here again, there's some issue with this ChatGPT Vision that it goes into some different mode depending on what you ask. If you ask what is the text on the page, then it will read the text and tell you. But if you tell it to answer some question based on the text, then it might hallucinate something. That's very interesting. So let's try one more time the previous version. So open the main script file. What if I say, go to this GitHub repo, check what the name of the main script file is, and open the main script file. And then tell me what are the imports in that file. So let's see if that will work. Now again, I think I left a seed in this request. Oh, actually not in this request. But hey, look at this. We actually clicked the right link now. So when I told it to check what the link is and then click it, then it works. So now, how do we actually click the link? Here is where it gets a little bit tricky because we have just this screenshot script that opens the page and then closes the page. But we should actually keep the page open while we are running the script. And that is actually why my Puppeteer GPT is only done with JavaScript, because then I can just have all the communication with ChatGPT in the Puppeteer script. So should I change to JavaScript or should I figure out some way to communicate with the JavaScript from Python? Let's see how complicated it is to actually make this completely in JavaScript. So let's make an index.js and let's put this in here. The first thing we have to do is we have to open the browser. That is what we do here. And then this is where we are going to add those red borders and then we take the screenshot. So actually what we want to do is let's make this headless. So let's set this to new. And then we should ask for input. So let's say the prompt is input u. Now, of course, we don't have input in JavaScript. So let's create a function input and it takes a text. And how do we do this? I think we have to use some readline package or something. Now, I might just take a look at my Puppeteer GPT project. Actually, I'll just code the index.js here. So how are we doing it here? We are importing readline from readline. Now, I have to change to this require format because I'm using this stealth plugin for Puppeteer now. So I think I can't mix imports and requires. So can I say const readline equals require readline? And then how do I actually use it? Well, I in fact have a function here and this was so complicated to make. Look at this. Why do I have to do it this complicatedly? So it's an async function and then we initialize the prompt and then we open this readline interface and then we await a promise that uses this readline question and passes in the text and then gets the prompt and then closes it and then resolves this promise. So let's use this beautiful function and let's put it here. So then we can actually say that const prompt is await input u. So then we wait for the prompt. And is there actually like a Node.js package for OpenAI? I haven't used that before. I've just used the plain requests. But actually there is an official Node.js library. Okay, so let's actually do npm install OpenAI. What was it called? Yes, OpenAI. And hopefully it works the same way as the Python version. Do they have some examples? Okay, import OpenAI from OpenAI. So why do you have two different ways in JavaScript to require these? So can I say const OpenAI equals require OpenAI? And do I have to npm install read line, or is that built in? Okay, and actually it is this way. So we import OpenAI from OpenAI. So how do I do this with the require version? Do I have to change everything to the import version? I will ask ChatGPT, how do I change this to the import version? Import Puppeteer from Puppeteer Extra. Import Stealth plugin from Puppeteer Extra plugin Stealth. Puppeteer use Stealth plugin. Okay, so could I just say const OpenAI equals require OpenAI? Maybe, but let's do that. And then we can say import OpenAI from OpenAI and import readline from readline. Great. And then I can say const OpenAI equals new OpenAI. And then to send a chat completion, we just do this. So let's go to our main function and let's send the prompt to ChatGPT. So what are we going to say? We are going to send this thing. So let's copy this, and actually this is basically in the same format. So let's paste it in here, and we do not have this multi-line string, so we have to convert this. Actually we have a template string, so we can do that. And that should be just fine. But the image URL has to now be data, image, JPEG, base64, and here we have to add, I think it's this way, so if we use the template string here again, we can set the image URL, or base64 image, base64 image. And how do we do that in JavaScript? So first of all, we should get the image first, so let's do this. We get the prompt, and then we take the screenshot, and then we do this. We send the chat completion, and let's convert the image to base64. So let's ask ChatGPT directly. How do I convert an image to base64 image URI in JavaScript? You can use the file reader API provided by the browser. Well, we're not in the browser, but maybe we can still use it. Read as data URL. Okay, I thought there was something like this, but I am actually using Node.js. So let's say stop. Can I do the same with Node.js? And I am going to change to GPT 3.5 because GPT-4 is very slow. How can I convert a file into a data URI in Node.js? And I will say a JPEG file. And here is how we do it. Okay, so that is the function. Read file, and then to string base64. All right, let's do that. So we have to import fs from fs. So then let's create a function. Async function, image to base64. And we take the image file. So this will be the file path. And if we have an error, then we return and print the error. And this is the base64 data. And this is the data URI. And then we can return that. So return data URI. And we can just do this, I guess. We can say data URI is that. And here we let the data URI be an empty string. Maybe that is how you do it. So we can actually just do here base64 image, just like this. And we can make it base64 by saying const base64 image equals image to base64 screenshot.jpg. Okay, so then we send that message to ChatGPT, and what do we do next? We just get the answer back. So that's basically what we're doing here. So response choices 0 message content. So let's call this response, and then const message is response.choices 0 message, just message, and then const message text equals message.content and console log message text. Is this really the only way to print in JavaScript? Console log, I guess. So will this work now? So actually we are not sending now our prompt, but let's just try it out. We're just sending this default prompt, but let's see if we get the answer from this now. So if we run node index.js, then it should give us an error. Cannot use import statement outside of a module, so I have to change in my package.json the type of this to module, which makes no sense, but I'm going to do it anyway, because that's what is required. So let's run it. And now it will ask me, you. Now this is not going to go anywhere, but I should be able to send this, and then we get an error. Invalid parameters. Failed to deserialize parameters. URL. What is the URL we are searching for? It is URL, but we don't have a URL. So let's set it for now to this URL. So let's just hard code it here. And let's try one more time. So we can put something here, and then we should open the browser. Although this is now headless, so we can't actually see what's going on. But then we should get the answer from ChatGPT, but we got the timeout error now. So now we have to figure out how we can suppress this error. That's always a problem with Puppeteer. I haven't really figured out how to do this. Can I try this, and then can I catch error, and then if error instance of timeout error, then we are going to do nothing. So actually, if it is not, how do we say not instance of? If I do this, is it gonna do it properly? Now, why can't I do this? Can I really do this? Why not? So if it's not a timeout error, then we want to throw the error. And maybe I want to add this in parentheses, just to be sure. But I feel like this is still gonna like break the page. So how do I gracefully timeout? Not sure. Let's try it again. Send something, and then we got a timeout error. So why did we not catch it? Did we import this? Yes, we imported from Puppeteer the timeout error. Although, was that from Puppeteer Extra? So what if we just suppress all the errors? Yay! This is what we have to do. Let's run it. And now we actually didn't get the error. So I'm not sure if we actually loaded the page in time or did we actually suppress it. But we got an invalid content type because image URL is only supported by certain models, and I forgot to add the model. So I believe I can just say model is going to be GPT-4 Vision Preview. And I want to say the max tokens is 1024 because it is limited by default with the Vision 4 preview. So let's try again. And still, image URL is only supported by certain models. Well, it should be supported by this model. Let's see if there's some other way of setting the model. Actually, damn it. It was down here already. So model is this, max tokens is that, and messages are those, and nothing else. Let's try again. And expected URL field in image URL dict. Interesting. Base64 image is this. So did this not actually work? We should return the data URI from this. But do we have to say await here? I think so. So we actually returned just an empty string. Although we can't use await because this is not a promise. So what we have to do is we have to say await new promise, and we have to pass in the resolve and reject, and we are not going to reject. We are just going to do this. And what we're going to do is we are going to resolve with the data URI. And I guess here we should like reject. So let's actually do resolve and reject. And here we reject, and here we resolve. And this is actually going to be just return await new promise, like that. So then we should resolve with the data URI, and that should be the return value from this, if I understand this correctly. So let's actually print the base64 image here. So console log base64 image, and let's run it. And we actually got a promise because we have to await this. So let's await image to base64. And actually, I said data URI here, so I have to actually say that this is going to be const data URI. And then we're gonna put it there. Okay, one more time. And I guess it worked because we got this massive data URI, and we got, based on the screenshot, the name of the main script file is gpt-autopilot.py. To examine the contents of the main script file, including its imports, I would need to open the file. And we're going to click it. So now we have a JavaScript version. And what we can actually do is we can click it. Now, how do we click it? Well, we have to get by the text in the link the element. So what we can do here, where we are looping through all of the elements, we can add an attribute. I'm not sure if we're going to use this GPT ID, but we can actually add GPT link text, for example, an attribute to the element, and we set it to the element.text content. And can we like trim this? So hopefully now the text content of that link is going to be gpt-autopilot.py. So now that we have set this attribute in the actual HTML of the website, then when we get the response back, then we can say something like this. If message text dot index of, and let's search for click, is not -1. That means we should click something. Now we might want to use function calling, but let's just try to do it old school and just try to parse it from here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to say const parts is message text dot split, and we're going to split by the click, and then we are going to say, in fact I will say let parts, and then I will say parts equals parts 1 dot split, and I will split that with this one. And then I'm going to say that the const link text is going to be parts 0. And in fact, I will add a space and a quotation mark here, right? That's correct. So then we will just get this part, and that will be the link text. And we can then say console.log clicking on, and let's add here link text, and then let's click it. So we can do await page.evaluate, sorry, just page.click. And we are going to pass in the selector, which is going to be GPT link text equals the link text. So we have to do it this way, and then add these ones, and actually let's make it a template string, and then let's do that, and $sign and link text. And then we should do await page, wait for navigation, but there might not be navigation from the link click. So this is always a bit difficult. I guess we can again set a timeout of timeout, and then we can try this, and then we can catch whatever. And here we will add a to-do, handle non-navigation properly. And let's add a to-do up here too. To-do, handle, navigation, timeout properly. If you know how to handle it properly, then you can make a pull request, because I don't know how to do it properly. So let's see now what will happen. We are going to click on the link, and let's actually just take a screenshot so we can see what happens. So let's add this here, and let's say screenshot after click. And let's see what happens. I will just move this up here. And let's run it again. So now we should actually click the link and then take another screenshot. Now in that screenshot, we might not have the red borders. Now I'm not sure if we even need the red borders, but let's see. We got some error. So we are clicking on this. So I forgot to add the space and the quotation mark somewhere. So we should have it here as well, of course. So let's try it again. That's probably the reason for the error as well. So here is our image that we sent, and then we are clicking on GPT-autopilot.py, and we took a screenshot, hopefully. Let's XDG open, screenshot, after click. And what is in here? Here we have an unloaded page. So I think we clicked on the link, but we didn't load it yet. So let's actually see what went wrong. That's interesting, actually. So what was the original screenshot? Let's check that. It was this. So that's the correct screenshot. But why was the next screenshot like that? Let's add a sleep here, and let's call it like 8 seconds, and let's try it again. And we are sending the screenshot to ChatGPT, and we got an error. Okay, so now we clicked on the wrong link again. So apparently sometimes it doesn't read the actual text. So let's try one more time. And again, we clicked on the wrong thing. Can we set a seed for this so that it will work every time? So let's actually set seed is something. Let's see if that works. And still we are trying to click on the wrong thing. That is very annoying. Let's change the seed and let's do something. Let's say always read what is in the screenshot. Don't guess link names. It's funny that you always have to say something like this. Don't be stupid. Okay, so now we're actually clicking on the right thing. So let's see if we actually get the screenshot. So let's open screenshot.jpg. So this should be just fine. This is the main one. But if we open screenshot after click, then look at this. We have the full source code of GPT Autopilot. So we actually clicked on the link. So now it's working. Now we can crawl websites. But of course, we just run this once. So what we have to do is we have to convert this to a conversational chatbot. So basically, what do we have to do here? We have to start a loop here. So while true, we are going to do all of this. And I will actually call this let prompt because we have to change the prompt later. Maybe. So basically we get the prompt and then down here we set the messages. So let's actually create a messages array. So this is messages. And let's set this up here. So let's say const messages equals this array. Now we only want to add the system message in there at first. So let's remove these others. And then when we get the prompt, we want to add that to the messages. So we say messages dot push, and we will push in a message in there. And this is going to have a role of user and a content of the prompt. And then we are going to send these messages to ChatGPT down here. And then when we get the message back, we are going to do messages.push, and we are going to push the assistant message here. So role is going to be assistant, and content is going to be the message text. And then we are going to print the message, and we're going to click if we want to click. And then we are going to go back up to the start of the while loop. So we have to ask for another message down here. But actually, I still have some message here. So we have to send this kind of user message, actually. So let's do that. So we have added this one, and then we get back this one, and then we should add this message. So wait a minute, where does this go? Because at first we have to ask for the URL. So now we're taking a screenshot already, but we don't have a screenshot. So let's do it for now like this. Let's push the user message up here. So let's say messages.push, and let's push this thing. So in fact, like this. Although we have to do this after we take the screenshot. So we are going to do this right here. But actually, I was going to create another chat completion up here, but we don't really need to do that. So we can modify our system message. You are a website crawler. You will be given instructions on what to do by browsing. You are connected to a web browser. Let's say here, in the beginning, go to a direct URL that you think might contain the answer to the user's question. If the user provides a direct URL, go to that instead. Something like this. So now when we add our user message, then we should not do any of this. We should only say this if we have a screenshot. So screenshot taken, or URL. If we have a URL, do we set the URL somewhere already? Const URL. Okay, so we get it from the process, but we actually don't do this. We just set the URL here. Let URL equal, I guess we can just say let URL. So if we have a URL, then we are going to go to the URL and take a screenshot. So we're going to do all of this stuff. And then we're going to add this message with the image URL, and here's the screenshot of the website. So let's move this inside if URL. And then we are going to set the URL down here. So we have to detect it in this way. So let's do the same thing. Else, if message text index of URL is not -1, then we are going to parse the URL like this. So this is URL, and the URL is going to be parts 0. And we just set the URL. So then when we go back in the loop, then we're going to have a URL, and then we're going to crawl to that URL. And maybe we should set the URL like back to nothing. So here we can say URL is null or whatever. So then we're not going to take another screenshot until we get the next URL. Although we have to take a screenshot after we click on the link, which we do actually down here. Okay, so maybe that makes sense. But we could do this just in the loop. Okay, let's just do this. And let's just console log going to URL, and let's add the URL here. And that should now work, I guess. So let's see. But this has to be now JPEG. And yes, we have to send this to ChatGPT. So I will not do it here. I will just click it and wait for navigation. And this timeout is a bit weird. Why do I have to wait so long? I think it's in this case because the code on the page is so long. Then let's just wait 8 seconds for now. Whatever. But then what we have to actually do is we have to send the screenshot if we have a screenshot. Or we have to send what should we do. So we don't want to do the go to unless we have the URL. And of course we have to pass in the URL here. If we have a URL, we're going to do all this stuff. And we're going to go to the URL. And let's end it here. So if we have a URL, we're going to do that. Otherwise, if we don't have a URL, then we are still going to take a screenshot, but we don't want to take a screenshot on the first try or on the first iteration before we have the URL. Damn it. So let's say if has screenshot, then we are going to do this. If we have a screenshot, we are going to do all that. And like this. And in fact, of course, we're not going to take the screenshot here. We're just going to do this. And here we are going to set has screenshot to be true. And then when we actually add the screenshot, then we are going to say has screenshot is false. And of course, we have to initialize that. So let's say let has screenshot false. And then we have to take another screenshot when we click the link. So in fact, we have to do that. Okay. And we have to set the URL to null when we are in this if URL. So down here, URL is null. Maybe that will now work. Let's see. So I'm not going to console log the base64 image anymore. I might say console log sending screenshot. And I guess here we can say console log crawling to URL. And that is it. So then we click on this and we take a screenshot. And then we have a screenshot. Okay, and here we say going to URL. I guess we don't have to say this. I mean, for now, let's add it there. And let's try to do this. Index.js. And now, are we actually adding our prompt in there? I think we did that already. So we are doing it up here. And I forgot one thing. I have to ask for the prompt again if we don't get any command to click or go to a URL. So then we say else, we are going to do this. Set the prompt. So in fact, we can use const prompt. And then we add that prompt. Okay, great. And let's change here. Let prompt into const prompt. And now let's run it. And then we have to say what we said previously, but I forgot what that was already. So let's say go to this exact URL and figure out what is the name of the main script of the project, and then click on the main script and tell me what are the imports in the script. And then we are going to add the URL, which is going to be this one. And let's see what happens. We go to this URL, which is the correct URL that we gave, and we are sending the screenshot, and we are clicking on GPT autopilot.py. And we got stuck for some reason. What are we doing now? Okay, we are sending screenshot. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there, why it took so long. Okay, the screenshot is too zoomed out to read the specific imports used in the script GPT autopilot.py. To provide accurate information, I need the image to be zoomed in to the top part of the script. Okay, I guess because it's the whole source code, then maybe OpenAI squashes the image so that it fits to some certain height. Okay, but let's actually open the screenshot now. So we should have the screenshot here. And yeah, look at this. So it's 20,000 pixels. Okay, that's understandable. So let's try to do it without using the full page. So there's a full page somewhere. But can we like set a height? Height. Is there a height? Screenshot options. Let's ask ChatGPT, can I set a height for the screenshot in Puppeteer? you can set the viewport. Okay, so the viewport size. That makes sense. So let's just remove full page from here. And let's just set the viewport size up here. So now it's 1200 times 1200. Okay, that should be enough. So let's try it again. Let's copy this prompt again. And let's see if this will work. So we are going to this URL. We are sending the screenshot. And we are clicking on gptautopilot.py. And we are sending the screenshot again. And here are all the imports from the file. So it actually read them. So it works. We are now crawling the web with AI vision. That's pretty cool. So now we should implement some sort of inputting of text so that we can search for stuff on YouTube or Google or somewhere else. But I think that is a video for another day. I hope someone is still watching this video. This turned out to be a pretty long video, but now it's actually working. That is so cool. Now, can I just continue this and say, what is the weather in San Francisco? It should have the chat history, which doesn't really matter in this case, but it should now just go to weather.com or something and then fetch that. Now, the thing is, I'm not sure what it will do with those previous images we have sent, because they are now still in the chat history. And actually, we crashed. So what happened? Protocol error, cannot find context with specified ID at. Okay. Yeah, these are very fun errors always with Puppeteer. It is usually because we lost the context somehow. Did we forget await somewhere or something? I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe we got the timeout and then something happened. Let's try again. Let's just say, what is the weather like in San Francisco? And we're gonna crawl weather.com. Okay, so that's not a very good place to go because it should go directly to the right place. Now, if we were able to type into forms, then we could actually type in San Francisco and then search for the weather there. But we have to implement that in another video. Okay, so it actually says, please enter San Francisco into the search field and press the search button. So we have to implement that. But today's video is getting too long, so I will continue in the next one. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that one. And I'm probably going to do some refactorings to this code and then publish it on my GitHub. So you can find it there if you want to check it out. But anyway, thanks for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.